Squandered opportunities, Broncos Country. The tale of two halves for this game. Broncos go down in LA 34-27 on Thursday Night Football. It was, I would say, in front of a away environment, but the Broncos look like they packed that house. We had all the momentum in the world for that first half and literally let it slip through our fingers. We've waited long enough for a playoff berth, and apparently we're going to wait a little longer. So we've got a lot of feelings to buck on this here evening. It's late. It's going to be later as we continue on here. We've got a special guest flying next to me tonight. So really excited to have everybody on board for this emotional train that we call Thursday Night Football. So let's get into it. This is the Buck Your Feelings post-game show. Let's go.
Oh no! We suck again!
We suck again!
Oh, absolutely brutal vibes coming out of LA tonight for your Denver Broncos. Again, just such a ball buster of a game is the way I would label that. Welcome into the Buck Your Feelings post-game show. I am your host, Jay Weaver, the Dream Weaver. Alongside of me, a special guest. Joining me tonight from the MHRT network, our sister, our partners here, Mundagas Creevy. How are you doing there, sir? I know you're live on, the neighborhood tonight, but what feelings you got to buck tonight with us? How you feel?
Well, first things first, the reason we lost that game was because of Damari Mathis. Like every single
Are you serious right now, bro?
Damari Mathis was on the field. Doesn't matter if he had anything to do with the play. If he was anywhere near it, it didn't matter. He was there. He's the reason why we lost.
Oh,
no, I'm not like
things.
I'm not even sure which one hurts more, like the last second field goal block to the Chiefs or that, because this game was so much bigger than that game.
It was. I was texting my dad through the game, and he's kind of the guy that doesn't know the behind-the-scenes things. He didn't understand that, like, tonight clinched a playoff berth. And he was just talking to me about how it sure would be nice if the Broncos followed through with a season, because we always get to a point where the Broncos have hope and we have a little bit of momentum, and then things always squander. We always drop the ball, and it's around this time of year where that has happened since Super Bowl 50. And he was pretty devastated after the game, the way it went down. And I can't imagine that most of Broncos country doesn't feel that way, of that we've waited so long to just have just the meaningful check mark of being able to say we're a playoff team, and yet we get denied in such a abrupt fashion tonight, where we dominated. And I'm gonna give total opposite feelings to the first half, because, to be honest, I thought Sean Payton came out guns a-blazing with a masterclass of play calling. First 3 drives, touchdown, 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 and we looked like we were going to run away with this game. It wasn't even going to be close. And then that stupid free kick happened. What was it? First time since 1978, I want to say.
It was either 78 or 68, one of the two.
I've never seen anything like that. I didn't know that existed. Completely out of my realm of football knowledge. That honestly was the this is going to be taken away from us, isn't it? That was that moment, at least for me, where they're making up new rules now to F us, right? How did you feel about that play?
Well, and there's so many things that went wrong during that game, or not during the game, during the second half, that just don't make any sense. Number one, the non-call pass interference with the defender on Marvin Mims. If you look in the dictionary at pass interference, that's it.
Yep. Hand
holding down his left arm, not turning to see the ball, hit Mims before the ball got there. How is that not called? But you're going to call a bullcrap hold on Bowles? I'm not saying Bowles doesn't hold, but you can't call a hold like that against Bowles and not call the pass interference.
It was egregious. That pass interference was egregious. I mean, he literally never looked back. And we see that all the time, where the pass ends up being a little short, on a huge bomb. And the wide receiver tries to come back, and the defensive back runs right into him. We see this all the time, whether it's in professional or college, and it is always called. And that could have honestly turned the entire game, because it would have been first and goal. Been first and goal.
Yep. And then you've got the entire game of Zach Allen and Nick Bonito being held the entire game. Every play they were getting held. It was you couldn't watch the game and not see that they're getting held. When their shoulder pad is above their helmet, there's a problem.
Yeah.
It was every play. I just and again, I'm not sitting here blaming no calls on us losing the game, because we shouldn't have given up 21 points in the first half in the first place. There's a whole lot more to get into on that.
Very much so. Not Vance Joseph's best night. And for all the no calls, there was the calls. Getting into the comments here, our frequent flyer Billy Timmons in the chat here saying defensive penalties effed us, and he's totally right. Justin Sternad specifically, with a really bad quarterback late hit on third down that extended their drive and resulted in a touchdown that absolutely swung the momentum of this game. It was going to be a field goal for them, and that turned into 7 for them. That was brutal, among other plays that Justin Sternad had, but there just seemed to be time and time again just boneheaded decisions by the defense. The defense dropped the ball a lot, in my opinion, more so than even the Cleveland game, to be honest. I thought the Cleveland game was our first crack in the armor kind of game, where things are not looking the same as they were. And this game was just kind of a continuation of. What do you have to think about, I guess, the defense in general?
This is the perfect example of Broncos country and how we feel about the Broncos and where the Broncos actually are, right? We knew going into this year, this was a rebuild year. That's why everyone was 5.5 games. That's what they're going to win. Obviously, we got more than that, and we're going to have more than that. We're going to make the playoffs. But there are specific points in the game where you can see, hey, we still have a problem at this area. Alex Singletary is not there, or Alex Singleton's not there. You can tell that there is a drop-off between Singleton and Sternad.
Absolutely.
Especially in pass coverage. And I'm not saying that Singleton is fantastic in pass coverage, but I think Drew Sanders and or Singleton would be better than Sternad in pass coverage. And good Lord, they're better than Mathis. So either one would be perfectly fine. I had to swing that in there. But like, there's certain points where you see that there's a lack of talent in a player. But then, like, I don't understand why you continue to go back to a zone when the zone isn't working. Like, I know that you want to stop the run, and that's why you're holding back into a zone. But for God's sakes, like, we've already shown that our corners are great at man. Play man-to-man the whole game, 100%. Who cares? Let them run. They can run all they want. Don't let them throw the ball.
You are 100% right. And here's my perspective, at least on the zone man discussion here. You go to zone when you're trying to protect a cornerback that is vulnerable, that's getting picked on, that you know is going to let your defense down. So you try and protect him. Cad has played out of his mind thus far with his opportunities. So he has not given you any evidence to support that you need to protect him. A great interception tonight, another solid game really out of him. And so if you see that kind of performance out of a rookie, why wouldn't you go back to the bread and butter of this defense, which is man, which is just straight up man? We have played that this entire season to success. And that, honestly, playing man has led to being able to be the number one sack defense in the NFL, the most hurries in the NFL. The pressure comes from being able to play man and just trust your coverage. And we don't trust our coverage right now without Riley Moss. I knew Riley Moss was good and all, but I feel like in the mind of Vance Joseph, Riley Moss is like the second coming of Champ Bailey. Like, we prioritize Riley Moss way more than I thought we were going to in a play calling aspect of our defense going forward. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I understand playing a zone last game when you had Levi Wallace, who was giving Jerry Jeudy whatever he wanted. Like,
absolutely.
I understand this game playing zone when Damari Mathis is out there. I get it. Like, you need to cover for that piece of crap. Like, they can't cover anything. It's just, you have a proven corner in Macmillan. You have a proven corner in Surtain. And you have a rookie who, granted, has only been in for a game and a half, but he's showing enough to let him play. Yeah. Like, play man and let the pass rush work. We had no pass rush. And part of that was the offensive line. The offensive line for the Chargers is really good. Like, their two tackles are like first round top 10 picks. Like, they're good.
Yep.
But you have Malcolm Roach in the middle. You have Franklin Myers in the middle. You have these guys that can get to the quarterback. You put Drew Sanders in there for one play, and he goes and gets a sack. Like, let the pass rush go in man coverage. That's the whole point of the Broncos defense. Stop pussyfooting around with zone and play man.
Yep. And it is the pussyfoot. It is the pussy willow design of what the second half encompassed overall. Because not only did our defense let us down in being extremely conservative, it was the same crap for our offense in being ultra conservative in the second half. I want to bring up Michael Yost here. He said that he's got a lot to say about this game. He's been texting Johnny during the game. This is Johnny's Army buddy, I believe. So a couple points he had here. We let off the gas defensively when we were up by 11, 100%. And going into the second half, the defense just decided that we were good for the day. I said on the neighborhood in one of my comments that it kind of seemed like both the offense and defense decided that we won that game at halftime, and we just were done with the game. His second point is just missing opportunities in the pass game. Just running the ball for 2 yards and then having to throw for third and long. The third down conversions killed us because we got either penalties that were stupid that brought us back and had us in second and long, or we decided to run the ball continuing with Javonte Williams. I am absolutely done with Pookie Williams. I am floored that we've been continuing to give him opportunities. Now, Audric Estime, going into this game, I thought was going to have the bulk of carries, and he did. He had 9 carries out of the 21, so a little less than half. But Javonte had 4 carries, and more importantly, this is the more important aspect of what we thought Javonte was going to bring to the game, which he didn't, is that he led our team, Javonte Williams, in targets and receptions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a recipe for success? And mind you, in the second half, we were down in a game plan that you would think would dictate we wouldn't be dumping off to a running back. That's the kind of crap you do when you're up.
Right.
It makes no sense.
And it almost seems like Javonte Williams is what we had last year in P. Ryan, right? Like,
yes.
We're not looking at, well, and that's the problem. Like with P. Ryan, his first year with Hackett, I get it. He's that safety blanket on 3rd and 4th down. He catches the ball, he gets a first down. There we go.
Yep.
Then you had last year where P. Ryan could not catch the ball. Like it was either if it was slightly underthrown or slightly overthrown, he's just not going to catch it, or he's going to drop it, or he's going to fumble, or he's going to catch it and gain a yard. And that's what we're seeing out of Javonte. He can't run the ball like he used to his first year. So now they're going to throw him the ball, but now he's not going to catch the ball. Like if the ball hits you in the hands, I don't care if it's a little overthrown. If it hits you in the hands, catch the ball. Like you're getting paid way more than I'm going to make ever. Catch the ball, right? Yeah. Like we're seeing Javonte Williams take that Samaje Perine role from last year. And that's the reason why Samaje Perine is not on the Broncos anymore. I don't understand why you're not giving Estime the ball more. I understand that you didn't have Jaleel McLaughlin. I get it. He's hurt. Jaleel McLaughlin should be the guy that takes that Perine role. He's the one that should be out on getting the screens, getting the dump offs. That should be what his role is. My biggest concern is that, yes, you had Estime with 9 carries, but you only had 21 runs the entire game.
21?
That's the problem. You should be in the 35 to 40 range every
100%.
game. Without 100%. Javonte. Set him on the side, put a dunce cap on him, and let him watch.
Yeah.
But you need to have 35 to 40 runs per game with the running backs we have. I mean, we saw Blake Watson out there.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play bad. You had Estime out there. Didn't play bad. If we had McLaughlin out there, he'd be playing pretty great. You got to have 35 to 40 runs apiece. There should be no reason why each running back doesn't have 10 carries.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And there are, I think, some pretty big discrepancies between our run style and the style of running backs we have, in my opinion. We have a lot of steamrolling kind of running backs in Estime and Williams, and our offensive line is not made to push a line in a run blocking sense. They are tremendous pass protecting, and they're a great zone blocking, but they are not a power line. I just for having, and I guess I don't know this, but probably the most expensive offensive line in the NFL now with the Bulls extension. We should be getting far more ROI out of the running game with that money that we're contributing to that positional group. It is a travesty of what result we're getting for that. And I guess there is a huge disconnect, at least to me, with that. So obviously, I think we all agree Javonte's not going to be on this team next year. There's no reason why we should continue to band-aid our development of our offense by continuing to highlight him. I'm not a film guru, but I can't imagine there isn't a correlation between the lack of pass pro for Estime as to why he's not in more often. It seems like Javonte's out there every single pass down. So do you know that? Does Estime suck at pass pro? Is that why he's not a 3-down back?
I don't know. I wish I did. You look at the offensive line, they are great at pass blocking, right? Like we are leading the NFL in sacks allowed. Like we don't
Oh,
allow
yeah.
a lot of sacks.
Yep.
But if you look at the offensive line, it's almost like the offensive line you would have saw with Terrell Davis, right? Like Terrell Davis was a one cut and go.
Yep.
And like this line, you can see that there are running lanes, but they close fast.
They do.
Estime is that he has the size of Javonte, but he's the one cut and go.
Yep.
And then you have Jaleel McLaughlin, who is kind of like Sean Payton's Darren Sproles, right?
Yep.
Like he's that smaller back. He can still run up the middle if you need him to, but he's on the outside. He's the one you get on the outside, running to the sidelines, hitting on the check down, getting in the screen. You got Mims on the other side with that. Like that's what they want to do. Javonte had that his rookie year. But since he got hurt, it's like he lost his vision. He can't see the hole, or he doesn't get there fast enough. I don't know what it is. Like he's that bruiser back that would hit the hole and just blow people up. And that's not what he's doing anymore. It's
he's
like
running in quicksand.
Right? It's like the hole is right here and he's running here. It's like, no, move over a little bit. But he just doesn't have that power to break the tackles anymore. And you saw with Estime, even if he missed the hole by a little bit, he can blow that guy out of the hole, gain 4 yards, and then get tackled. That's exactly what Javonte used to do.
100%. It is just another week where I look at the box score and I say, okay, there's 11 targets for Javonte. There's 4 carries for Javonte. All of those touches need to be distributed to people that will be on the roster next year. Because again, when we peel back the layers, this is a development year where we are getting our personnel that will be with us long-term set up for success long-term. And if you're not with us, then what are you doing here? What is the point of your feeding the beast right now? It's very unfortunate. And I've kind of felt that in shades, honestly, for our receiving. Now, I absolutely love that we are getting Nate Atkins and Michael Burton involved. It's great because it is it's direct correlation to not their actual skill set and their performance. It's Sean Payton scheming them to be wide open or be, in a position to be successful. The next step is to get higher skilled players in those positions. And I think we could say the exact same thing about the tight end room of like, yeah, Lucas Kroll, you're great at 3 receptions, but like, if you're George Kittle, what are you doing? Like a huge difference in opportunity of skill set. I just kind of feel like this year we need to start cutting the fat and start focusing on the players that are going to be with Bo Nix in a relationship sense long-term. Because we're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. I
thought for a minute there we might, but no.
For a small second.
Like you got excited there for a minute, like, oh, here we go. But and that's the thing that's so frustrating is like, I'm not going to sit here and say that either one of us knows more than Sean Payton about football. Nope. Like he knows way more about football than we do. But some of these things just don't make sense. Like I don't understand why Javonte's still out there. I don't understand why Estime isn't getting more carries. I don't understand why you don't have Burton run the ball more. I don't understand why you're going super conservative when you're only up by 11 points. Like some of these things don't make sense. And you have to think like this has to fall on Sean Payton, right? Like what I'm assuming there's a plan. Like we were all aggravated at the beginning of the season because of how held back Bo Nix was. Now you can kind of see like, oh, this was the plan.
Yep.
Okay, well, there's 2 games left. Like, what's the plan now? Like, why are we still holding these guys back? Like, why is Sternot still in there when Sanders is back? Right? Like,
100%.
Why is Javonte in there when Estime is good to go? Like, what are we doing?
Well, correct. 100%. I want to throw this comment up in here. DZ, a obvious Charger fan in the house, which we welcome all fan bases. Come on with the slander. We love it. So he thought that we would win by double digits, and he had reverse jinx come into play. That halftime pep talk, man, that's what we're saying. Tale of two halves for this game. The Chargers absolutely made the adjustments where we did not. It was a very clear tale of two halves. I can't remember a game that is quite hot and cold like this. Michael Yost also coming in saying he completely agrees with me. And thank you, Mundungus. Soon McLaughlin will be healthy. Put him in. He needs to lead our backfield. I said this in preseason. Jaleel needs to be the number one. He needs to be highlighted because he's a home run hitter. He knows how to cut. He knows how to cut in the lane. And you know what? We can have a goal line back. And that's what Audric Estime was drafted for, is to be the bulldozer. Javante's replacement. Not to be a 3-down back. And I really thought Jaleel would develop into that and get the screen game going. Jaleel had some really good screens in the very beginning of the season, but it's just, it just hasn't been consistent because of this stupid strategy of carousel, ride the hot hand mentality that we give to that running back room. Totally disagree with that.
How do you get hot if you only get 2 carries at a time?
Yep. Philip Lindsay has said that for years because he absolutely hated sharing the backfield with Melvin Gordon. He said he couldn't stand it because, how do you get established as a runner if you don't get to get hit a couple times and get back up and keep going? If you're getting pulled every time you get get hit for a loss, then you never get your feet planted in the game. It really frustrates me how that positional group has been managed, even with the talent deprivation that we have. Let's see here. Michael Yo saying this is why Sean Payton and Coach of the Year are not in the same sentence positively. Yeah, man, this is. I mean, for every positive we give Sean Payton, there's a negative.
Yeah, and I think Broncos Country has to be honest, right? I'm not saying that Sean Payton is a horrible coach. He's not. He obviously has turned the culture around. He obviously is able to develop players, develop draft picks. But there are some problems. And it's not just players. There are some things going on, and we just talked about it, that don't make any sense. Yeah. And the only person that falls on is Sean Payton. I'm sorry, but why are you going conservative? Throw the ball. We need to throw the ball.
Yep.
And if you look back at all those Saints teams that he coached, name for me a 1,000-yard rusher. I don't think there are. Maybe once.
There's not. but that's because you were doing Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara at the same time. You were trying to do 2 different things at the same time, and that
just
never
let
works
Alvin
out.
Kamara go. As much as I love the turnaround the Broncos have had, at the same time, I'm freaking out, man, because we could have a all-pro full roster next year, and we're still going to lose some of these games because of some stupid coaching decisions, and I hate it.
Yep. It is frustrating because it's not consistent. If it was consistently good, that's one thing. And if it was consistently bad, that's another thing. We could, set our clock by the dumb decisions Nate Hackett would do. We knew it was coming. It was consistent. But to be teased into hey, here's the first 3 drives of the game, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And it was the perfect play calls where
why go away from that?
Wide open.
Yeah,
go from that to just nothing.
Right, you score 3 touchdowns in the first half. Why are you going away from that?
Yep.
Do exactly what you were doing in the first half and adjust on defense. I don't get it.
Yep. And Michael Yost actually brings up a really good point. It is kind of the arrogantness of being Sean Payton. And you have to kind of put yourself in the mindset of that old school Bill Belichick mind of, hey, what I'm doing is ultra successful, but I've been around this game long enough to know the other team's going to make adjustments. So I can't just keep doing what I'm doing. I need to outthink myself and do something completely different because I know that won't be sustainable. Whereas the easy, duh, obvious answer is staring you right in the face of just keep on doing what is successful. Don't overcomplicate it.
Well, like, to look at Dan Campbell, right? Like, the reason why he's so successful with the Lions is he's an aggressive coach. And then as soon as they adjust, he gets more aggressive.
Yeah.
And that's why they're scoring so many points. Like, if you want to do the opposite and change it up from what you're doing, don't go from aggressive to conservative. Go from aggressive to super aggressive. Like, go the other way.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't care. I don't care if Bo Nix throws for 30 and 30. I don't care. If we're winning games, we're winning games.
Yep.
Like, Jameis Winston it up, but win the game.
Hey, at least Jameis knows who he is. He is not going to, curl back to be something he's not. And that's a big thing in this league, I feel like, is to know who you are and stick to what you are. Tom Brady was perfect at that. Tom Brady knew exactly what his skill set was, and he knew exactly what he wanted out of his offense, and he stuck to it. He didn't go outside of that realm. So super frustrating.
And my assumption is, again, talking about Sean Payton and the plan, I'm assuming that he knows the limits of the players that we have. I'm assuming that some of these play calls are because he knows we need another wide receiver. He knows that we need a tight end. He knows that we need a running back. So I'm not saying that going super aggressive would have worked, but for God's sakes, like, if you're going to lose with style.
I mean, it is apparent we lack the talent to attack the middle of the field consistently without a gadget. Because we have no tight end, because we have no slot wide receiver that is a true slot wide receiver. I love Mims, I love Franklin, but they are not slot wide receivers. They're gadget players. And probably my favorite play of the day, honestly, was the Mims screen that he took for like 50 yards that he took up off the sideline. That's the kind of play where, like, just give the guy a chance, get the ball in his hands, and let an athlete. And that's kind of what we have to work with, is hoping for these home run balls that they work out, because we just don't have the consistent skill set of talent right now to rely on the full route tree. So a couple other just observations when I looked at this. Cortland only 6 targets in this game. As the 1A, as the guy who has been Bo Nix's security blanket in a lot of games, I kind of was expecting him to have a lot more targets and a lot more look. And I don't know this for a fact, but out of those 6 targets, I want to say 3 of them were on one drive, I remember, because he got 2 receptions back to back. And then I thought there was another reception on the same drive. So, like, where were you the rest of the game?
And I feel like this goes back to the beginning of the season where we're all saying Cortland Sutton's not a number 1. Like, he's a number 1 on this team, but that doesn't mean that if he goes to another team, he's a number 1. Like, that, I think that's the problem where we're getting limited, is we don't have a number 1 wide receiver.
No, we don't. We don't have an alpha, and we don't have a guy. As much as I love Court, he ain't going to the sideline screaming like an Antonio Brown would or a Tyreek Hill saying, I need the ball in my hands. Like, this is my game. Get me the ball. And I honestly really want to see a personality like that from the wide receiver room mixed with Bo Nix, because I think Bo Nix is a great leader. And I think Bo Nix would mesh well with someone that is that kind of wide receiver. So we might see it. I've been a big Luther Burden fan out of Mizzou coming out. He is that me guy. I would love to see him. I doubt we'll get him just because of the position and what we're looking for, but we need kind of one of those kind of wide receivers.
Nick Nash.
I hate to say it, but kind of need a Jerry Jeudy. I hate Jerry Jeudy with a passion.
Listen, I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, I am not a Jerry Jeudy fan.
Can't stand it.
But to be honest, when you look back over his tenure in Denver, who did he have thrown in the ball?
No one.
It was all guys that were not good at timing. They were not good at route timing, any of that. It was a go up and get it. And that's good for Cortland Sutton. That's not good for Jerry Jeudy. Like, you give him Jameis Winston, who is not like the perfect timing quarterback, but he's going to get you the ball accurately and on time.
Sure.
That's where Bo Nix comes in. Like, he is a accurate timing quarterback. Like, he would have been the perfect fit for Jerry Jeudy. And as much as I don't like Jerry Jeudy, Bo Nix and Jerry Jeudy together would have worked.
Yep, that would have been fire. It reminds me of the famous quote by Mike Kliss of back when we had DT and Emmanuel Sanders, and they had terrible quarterbacks throwing to him. Of you have two highly paid astronauts with no space program, absolutely hung out to dry.
I loved Emmanuel Sanders.
So it's brutal, man. I want to flip to the other side of the ball here. We haven't necessarily spoke about the nuts and bolts of what this defense was. I thought on the whole, I thought Zach Allen had a pretty good game. I didn't think he was terrible. There were some instances where, he could have done better, but I thought he had good pressures. I think it was more so on the ends. I think kind of what your point was that their tackles came to play. The Chargers tackles played out of their minds, so that kind of negated the Cooper Benito ends.
Cooper and Benito got close. They're just not close enough.
Yeah. Kind of brutal on that front.
And this is where like the level of talent comes into play, right? Like, I have no issues with DJ Jones, no issues with Jonathan Franklin Myers, no issue with Malcolm Roach, but they're not a Myles Garrett. They're not a JJ Watt. They're not like, that Aaron Donald like dog type. Like, they're not going to be that guy that no matter if they're getting triple teamed, they're getting through it. Like, they're an upgrade over last year, especially in the run defense, but they're just like Cooper and Benito are awesome on the outside, but you got to have that guy that can get in there in the middle, and we just don't. Like, a Jalen Carter would have been nice, or some, Vita Vea, like a big dude in the middle that can get to the quarterback.
Well, and there's a lot of people out there on the Twitterverse of Broncos Country banging the table for a defensive line in the first round. Kind of that game-changing player on the interior that will continue to, perpetuate this defense in the successes that we've had. That's what Van Joseph is all about, is about pressures. But he is kind of a person that he has to have talent on the back end to be able to support his aggressiveness on what he plays as far as play calls. Because he loves running blitzes. He loves running high-pressure defenses. But
why isn't he playing it?
Yeah, it beats me, man, because, again, it's the same thing we just talked about on the other side of the ball. Why are we going away from things that we're successful in? Sean Payton, if we're doing so well with this scheme, why are we flipping script? Vance Joseph, if we're so good in man, why are we going to zone? Why are we flipping script and doing things that we're not comfortable in? I am hoping to God Riley Moss comes back for the Bengals game, next game, just for the sheer fact that we can transition back to what our scheme is set up for. Not even necessarily Riley Moss himself. I don't know. It's very frustrating. We got Daniel Miller in the comments here saying, how worried should we be about VJ's future and Sean Payton's future?
Sean Payton's not going anywhere. VJ, on the other hand.
Yeah, but...
And the only reason I say that is because you have a defensive coordinator. And again, I love Vance Joseph. I loved him when he was head coach too. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother like John Elway screw you story. But you have Dennis Allen sitting out there, and Dennis Allen was his defensive coordinator in New Orleans. So I'm not saying that I don't want Vance Joseph to leave, but you have Dennis Allen out there,
and we got Jim Leonard. Jim Leonard behind too.
There is a possibility that he doesn't stay.
I can't imagine someone is going to give Vance Joseph the keys to their franchise again. From a personality type, haven't we seen enough defensive coordinators crash and burn being a head coach and being the CEO of a team that they never have any business being?
And this is my thing, right? Like, it's not so much that I don't see Vance Joseph getting a head coaching job. I think that at this point, it would have to be the right job, right? Like, Vance Joseph would not work in Dallas because Jerry Jones, like that, it wouldn't work.
Sure.
Vance Joseph possibly could work in Chicago. I mean, they have a roster that's getting there if they have the right coach. But like he would have to fall into a pretty good team to want to leave. And I just with the openings that there are, I don't see any teams being like, that's definitely our guy. And Vance being like, of course I want to leave to go coach the Panthers. Like, no, you don't.
Of course not. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And if he's given the opportunity, I mean, I wouldn't knock Vance for jumping at it. I mean, if you're offered the gig, absolutely take it.
Yeah. And I think, and Michael said it like, well, maybe he didn't. Somebody said it. But like the problem with Vance Joseph right now is just consistency. Like, I don't care if we're a top 3 defense. I just want you to be consistent. Like, be defense number 11 in the NFL and be consistent. And that's fine. Like, we give up 21 points a game. Cool. We give up 21 points a game and that's it. We don't get steamrolled by a team. We don't roll over a team in the first half and then get rolled over ourselves in the second half. Like, be consistent. And I think that's the biggest problem with Vance Joseph and why we have no idea if he's going to be here or not, whether that's taking a head coaching job or just getting the boot. I don't know.
Yeah. And Daniel Miller coming in saying he's heard that VJ isn't a lock to coach the remainder of the season. I highly doubt that. We have been a overly successful season. We have overperformed extremely. Everyone should have a golf clap, no matter what the win-loss is for the remainder of the season. We've got 9 wins when we had over-under for 5.5. This has been a great season. So it's his job for the remainder of the year by far. And it is honestly next year. I guess kind of think about that Vance wasn't Sean's first choice on DC. It was Vic Fangio. But yeah, thank God that didn't happen, man. I could not stand Vic Fangio.
No, and neither could any of the defending players. And then you look at Vic Fangio and where's he at now? Philly?
Yeah, I think Philly.
I mean, their defense is okay.
It ain't. I mean, dude,
like we're not talking like a Buddy Ryan type.
He's played out,
right? Like I think we're
played out. I'm still over that type of yawn fest of a defense playing zone. It's just Michael Yost also brings up the Bengals offense is going to steamroll this defense. Burrow is very good at finding his man and dropping the ball right in where it needs to be. I would be scared crapless if Riley Moss is not back in and we don't go back to our bread and butter of what has made us successful. Because if we have a repeat of what we have seen of versus the Browns and in this game, Joe Burrow is going to put 40 points up, and there ain't no way our offense is going to be able to keep up with that.
Well, okay. And so this is one thing I told Bill on the neighborhood was like, when you look at the Chargers team, like we think about how the Chargers have played in the last like 10 years. The Chargers are going to Charger. That's the thing, right?
That's true.
But when you look at their defense, right? Like when you look at the Chiefs defense, you look at the Broncos, look at the Chargers. There are two defenses in the league that are potentially better than the Broncos, and that's the Chiefs and the Chargers. Like the Chargers are a good defense. The Bengals are not. They are the exact opposite. Like the Bengals defense, you might as well play without them even on the field. That's how bad they are. Like it's horrible. So while they may put up 40 points if our defense allows that, I think that our offense against that defense could probably keep up.
Boy, I would hope, but it ain't going to keep up given 11 targets to Javonte Williams, I'll tell you that. But I just want to rattle off here. The Chargers' remaining schedule is the Patriots and the Raiders. That's very good. That's 2 wins. So I'm not hopeful in that. And obviously, because we lost, we are now swept from the Chargers for the first time since I want to say 2010, I believe. That's
we haven't gotten swept by the Chargers in a long time.
14 years. Long time. That's pre-Tebow.
Oh, Tebow.
Brutal, man. But, I mean, we don't have the head-to-head, obviously, against the Chargers. We don't have the head against the Ravens. I don't remember the Ravens' exact schedule remaining, but it's not like us. Like, I think we have out of us three, we have the hardest remaining schedule. I don't want to be negative Nancy, and I don't remember the exact percentage. With this loss, we're still like over 85% to make the playoffs, right? Like it's still a substantial percentage.
Yeah, we're at 87%.
Yeah. So I mean, like,
because we would have to lose all three, and then the Dolphins would have to win all three.
Yeah. Yep. And that ain't gonna happen. Dolphins are a warm weather team. They always suck it up right now. Tyreek Hill just tweeted out this week that he wants to be gone. So like, they're gonna implode. I know that.
Denver will take you. Come on over.
Dude, I want nothing to do with him.
I'll take one season of him. Just one. Like you can bring your 15 kids and let's throw it up.
Let's put all the women in Denver on notice. Make sure you take your birth control if he comes to Denver.
Well, to be fair, it's better than warning the masseuses in Cleveland. So
touche.
We'll take that. Touche.
That is true. Michael Yost coming in. Ravens play Pittsburgh Sunday. That should be a good game. I don't know how Pittsburgh's doing what they do. I would think the Ravens would win that game, but the heck if I know so. What the heck, like.
Well, and then there's always a chance that we could win the Chiefs game. So you look at the Chiefs, right? They're 2 games ahead of the Bills, but the Bills have the tiebreaker. So if the Chiefs win these next 2 games, they clinch the first spot. They clinch the bye. Why not sit their starters? And then we have the backups against us. Yeah. So there's that route too. I still think we beat the Bengals. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I think it'll be a shootout, but
it'll be a hard game.
I think we can beat the Bengals. Even with the Chiefs starters, I still think we can beat the Chiefs. Like we almost did.
I agree.
They won by stupid Forsyth, but other than that, like we had that game.
Oh, I mean, if faced with the 2 choices for a first round, if we hit that 7th seed, I want to play the Chiefs. I don't want to play the
Buffalo. I don't
want Buffalo at all.
I would rather have the 6th spot and take on Pittsburgh.
100%. That's best case scenario. But I would
that's
rather
out
go
the
to
window.
I would rather go to Arrowhead than Buffalo, to be quite honest, for first round. So I don't know. It's going to be a brutal last couple weeks of just nervous Nellies throughout Broncos country because we didn't take care of business tonight.
We need one game.
We just needed to take care of business tonight for a half of football for us to go into the holiday season sitting back and being able to just take a deep breath. And it's just so frustrating that we couldn't just take care of things now. And we always have to go to the last minute of everything.
Like, I'm sorry, but when you look at the score at the end of the first half, you expect it to double, right?
Yes.
Like, it should have been 42-26. Why was it not?
I mean, the free kick, I truly believe, threw a monkey wrench in the momentum of this team, and we went into halftime thinking, what the heck was that? And that was just kind of a reset moment for the game. You don't see that every day. I guarantee that the players on the field were like, what the heck are we doing? What is this? Like, nobody knows what that is.
And the defensive part that annoys me the most is, like, yes, I'm not a fan of zone. I like man. But one of the biggest problems with zone, and one of the biggest things that's happened over these last 2 weeks, is you keep getting a tight end or a wide receiver wide open on a linebacker. Like, stop it. Put your corners man-to-man on the receivers and stop letting them get matched up with an inside linebacker. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, remember when Von Miller used to go out in coverage? Stop it. Don't do that. Stop that.
Yep. No, that always frustrated the hell out of me. Another player that did very similar things, if you remember Robert Ayers. Robert Ayers used to randomly go into coverage, and that used to piss me off so badly because he was the worst in coverage.
It's like putting Damari Mathis out there. Like, stop it. Just sit down, sir.
You know, I'm letting it slide, Mundungus.
I was so looking forward to when Johnny contacted me. He was like, hey, you want to do the postgame show? Is Jay doing it? Yes.
Let me get my Mathis jokes all geared up here. And dude, you would have been teed up here if Mathis would have had like the shittiest game in the world and like blown this game. I don't know if I could have done this show. I probably would have called in sick.
It's not possible to do that, because if you notice in these last like 2-3 games, you see Damari Mathis out there for a play, and then the coach is like, wait, why is he out there? No, take him out. And then he's never in there again.
You're right.
Right.
But it is frustrating because, dude, that guy's been on the roster for a long time in different regimes. Like, he's stuck. He is a pretty long-standing player on this team in comparison to the turnover that we've had on this roster. So, I mean, he's got something that they like, or he wouldn't be on the team still. But he's not getting any opportunity. Like
Damari Mathis is going to be a Hall of Fame corner in the USFL.
Oh, where's Richie? Oh, Canada. All right. So, heading towards the end here, do want to get our last segment out there. Throw some game balls, although they're not going to be many because this was a crappy game, and honestly, I hate everyone right now.
I'm just trying to think of one.
Yeah, but let's get into it. Let's throw some balls out there. All right, so this is Who's Got Your Balls. Normally on a victory, we give out 3 each, kind of, 3 facets of the game: special teams, defense, offense. But for tonight, I would say if you got to have it, if you only have one, whatever, 1 or 2. So you go ahead. What do you got? Are you creative?
Oh, I'm totally starting with defense, because you're going to take him if I don't. Chris Abrams-Drain. He gets 1. Yes, I knew you were going to take him. Balling out over these last 2 games, especially this one. Gets his first pick. It was a great pick. Like, he read the play perfect. Jumped in front of the ball, picked it off. Great. Now you pick one, because I got to think of another one.
No, dude, Cat is playing out of his mind. I think he needs more opportunities. I think, honestly, what needs to happen is he just needs trust. He needs the trust of Vance Joseph to be able to just let him be and let him get on, wide receivers and man, and just leave him be. Not have to blanket him with a safety over top, and not have to, put him on a leash. He's played great, but My guy is going to be Mims. Mims he's continued to play extremely well with the opportunities he's been given. He is not, and I think we could probably agree, when we are full force and we fill this roster out 2 years down the road, Mims is not going to be a number 1 or 2 ever, I don't think. He's a gadget player that you can draw plays up for, that he is successful in the skill set he has. And I think he will be just successful in those instances as he is right now. I just think we have far more pressure on him right now to make a home run every single game, at least one. He didn't really do anything special teams this game, which usually he does. At least have one return that's like notable, but I don't really remember anything out of him tonight. But like I said earlier, I loved the screen that he turned upfield for 50 plus yards on the sideline. From going from where we saw Mims at the beginning of the season, not even getting a sniff of the field, to what he is now and utilized now, night and day. And I'm really happy that we've at least made that coaching adjustment to get that guy the ball with space.
So I'm going between two, and it's weird that like our defense just got smoked in that second half. But my other game ball, I'm leaning defense again. I was kind of leaning Ben Powers on offense just because like he's the only one who didn't give anything up, right? Like Bowles allowed guys to get around him, had the holding call. You had Wattenberg, you had Miners, and you had McGlinchey, who was getting blown up every play.
Both screamed him a couple times.
Yeah, and if you want to take Powers, you can. I think I'm going to go with Drew Sanders. Just because you have a guy coming off IR for the entire season.
Yeah,
like
long time.
It's been like 15 weeks. And he gets in the game, and his first play in the game is a sack. Like, that's what we want. And I don't know if they're going to put him at inside linebacker or they're going to put him on edge. I'm hoping it's inside. Because he would be a great addition to help with the loss of Singleton. But put him in the middle. He gets first play he's in, pushes a guy to the side, gets around the defensive lineman, smokes Justin Herbert. So I'm going with Drew Sanders.
No, that's a good one. That is a good one. It's nice to have some new blood on that side of the ball that can stir some things up and be a wrecker. Because, I mean, we've seen, I think, enough of Justin Strnad. He's overperformed. You know, that's kind of been a theme that we've talked about a lot, honestly, is we've had so many key players this season that have overperformed far outside of their skill set. And eventually you come back down to reality of what kind of player you actually are. And I feel like the clock has struck midnight and, you know, Cinderella is coming back to reality for a lot of our players, unfortunately. And Justin
Strnad is a pumpkin.
Yeah. My last game ball is going to the man, the myth, the legend, the leader of this team, Mr. Bo Nix, because I feel like he made some really good strides this game to not overdo it. I feel like he had some regression starting in that Cleveland game of being able to just kind of have the handcuffs off of Sean Payton's expectation and just letting the ball fly and being a little more of a gunslinger. And that got him into trouble. And when that happened and he started throwing picks, you started seeing the happy feet in the Indy game where he just bailed on plays after like one read, and he was bailing, no matter if there was pressure or not. And that is not what you want to see out of a rookie quarterback. And that's not what you want to see mainly out of a Sean Payton quarterback, because you have to be under control because it is a very structured offense, very time-oriented, timing-oriented offense. And Bo came back to his previous form tonight, even though it didn't necessarily work out in some instances. And tonight was more of Bo gave everything he could, but he only has so much skill set around him to make plays.
Right.
No interceptions, no turnovers. 250 yards passing. And also had a couple good rushes, had a 15-yard rush, had 25 overall, and just kind of looked the part tonight. So giving Bo my regards.
Yeah, and I know I've said this before, but like when you think about the overall arc of the Broncos, right? Like and the Bo Nix story, this is the worst roster that Bo Nix is going to play with. Like,
true.
We're going to get better next year. We're going to add a wide receiver. We're going to add a running back. We're going to add defensive players. So, like, you're seeing the underthrows, the overthrows, like the stupid interception decisions. That's what a rookie does. Like that, he's going to have those.
And I understand. All about.
And I understand it sucks, but like Bo Nix is already the best rookie Denver Broncos quarterback of all time. Like it easy, by a lot. Not even close. So when you see what he can do and you take away those rookie mistakes and you give him a better roster, what are we looking at? Like we're right. Like what kind of future are we looking at for the next 7 to 10 years, maybe more?
Yep. And Michael Yost pretty much mirrors that, again, no interceptions and trying his best tonight. I mean, he is the guy. He's the guy. That's it. I mean, that point period. He's the guy. And that was honestly at the end of the day, what I wanted to see out of this year was determining if he's the guy. Do we move forward with, the template that we have built thus far this year? Like, do we start building on or do we need to tear it down again? And I mean, I don't know about within 2 seasons looking at a Super Bowl, but like Bo Nix is going to raise that trophy at some point in his career. I'm pretty confident in that. Just like Drew Brees did. And I think honestly, Sean Payton's going to be the guy to lead him to it. They are a perfect match for each other. And I think they work really well together. We just need to cut the fat and get the right pieces in place to, fulfill that destiny that we have. So, also got Daniel Miller in here saying we just had a firing in another Colorado team. The Nuggets just made a big coaching move. I'm going to have to squeeze over to that because
I'm looking.
Better not, because I can't imagine that would happen mid-game. We're playing Portland right now. I saw we were losing, anything. But maybe Malone got kicked out because we were losing. That's typical.
I do have a question for you though.
Yeah,
and a lot of it is because I haven't been on any podcasts or neighborhoods for a while because I've been dealing with family stuff. But we have this Bulls extension, right?
Yep.
Like I understand you want to extend a left tackle who, granted, rates out at like top 7 in the NFL. Like he is a good left tackle.
He is.
My issue with Bulls, and you saw it clearly tonight on that holding penalty. His issue is that he doesn't hold to save his quarterback from getting hit. When he starts holding is after Nix is already gone. Like, and that's the part that's so annoying is like, you're not like, it's not like Bo Nix is standing in the pocket and you're right behind him and you're trying to hold the guy and stop from hitting him. Like you're here and Bo Nix is here. Like, why are you holding this guy? It doesn't make any sense.
Bulls and so very situationally unaware.
Right. And so like, while I understand you want to extend a left tackle that's grading out as a top 10 left tackle, at the same time, you're telling me you couldn't draft one and develop? Like, I would gladly take that, save that money, and spend it on a free agent wide receiver. Spend it on a free agent running back. Like, something. Like, I have my personal issues with Garrett Bowles, and that's fine. That's story for nobody else's ears. But, like, the situational issues with this guy and penalties is just maddening. Like, number one, that was not a forward pass. It was a backwards pass. And if that's a forward pass, then what the heck was the Music City Miracle? Because that was more forward pass than this one.
You're right.
So if you take that out, right, and you take the the Bulls holdout, you get a 15 to 20 yard completion. But instead, you would have had a hold for no reason.
This is something me and Johnny disagree with to the grave. I was not a proponent of signing Garrett Bowles to an extension. I thought Alex Palchevsky would be our starting left tackle, or
Right
we
side.
would find. I know, but it is something that we could have drafted, like you said, and had a plug and play for a little bit. But I truly believe what this truly signals is that there is another move to be made in the offseason for this line, and it doesn't have to do with center. I think there will be a cap casualty, whether it's Powers or McGlinchey. One of them, I think, will be nixed to save some money, and I think we'll draft someone else to plug those holes.
Well, and that's where I was going to go, was if you take McGlinchey off, right?
Yeah.
You have Palchevsky at right tackle.
He's
who
great.
Played just as well, if not better, than McGlinchey when he was in there. So you can get rid of that right now. My other issue is Wattenberg. Like, I don't want Forsyth. Okay,
dude,
so
the snaps to his left almost every single time annoy the hell out of me. If you notice that, it is
right?
Every single time Bo has to dart his catch on the side of his head. It's never square.
And I understand the move from Cushenberry, right? Like Cushenberry and the offensive line was. It's not that he wasn't good. He wasn't a good fit for the scheme wise. So I get Wattenberg and Forsyth. For God's sake, just learn to block a kick before we even talk about him going center. But
it's easy to replace a center. You can draft that in the 4th round,
right? And I was so upset that we didn't get Cam Jurgens from Nebraska a couple of years ago. And again, so listen, I'm a Nebraska fan, but I'm a Nebraska fan by marriage. Okay. So it's not like I'm diehard here. Okay.
Okay. But
Cam Jurgens at center, you see how well Philly is playing with Cam Jurgens at center, replacing Jason Kelsey.
Not wrong.
He would have been a fantastic center, and he was within reach, and we didn't draft him, and I was so mad. But you can't sit there and tell me that there's not a center out there that would work in the scheme that we have that's better than Wattenberg. Or go get, we have all of this cap space, and we have owners that could just pay their entire contract in cash. Go get a center. We need, especially when you're talking about run blocking and trying to make lanes, the center is the most important cog in that offensive line for running, because you're either going to run the A gap or the B gap, right? So you're looking at one of the other sides of the center.
Yep. And obviously we're all good with the belly. So my personal thought is that it's going to be Ben Powers is going to be gone, and we'll draft a guard. Pretty easy, interchangeable inside line person to draft.
It could be both, to be fair.
Might be. Not
especially with Palchevsky back there.
I don't rule that out.
There you go.
So there's a lot to play. There's a lot to play with. And you know what? We still have Russell Wilson money on the hook next year. We're not done.
and it could be none, to be honest. They might not cut anybody, which
it's possible.
Kind of sucks, because I like Palchevsky.
Yeah,
but
it's
the offensive line right now is not where we need to focus our attention. Running back, Genty, for God's sakes. If he goes anywhere between 15 and 20 and we don't get him, I'm done. I'm a Lions fan now. No more Broncos. I'm done.
This is a very deep running back draft. There are a lot of really good running backs. I like Johnson out of Iowa. What is the Scatterborough out of Arizona State. There are guys to go get for that positional group.
Right.
We have to pull the trigger on someone.
Whether it's running back or wide receiver, and if obviously there's other options besides Genty, but as far as wide receiver goes, where we'll be drafting, I like Nick Nash out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Ooh, he'd be fun.
Yep. I'm all about that. I I know this is probably contrary to a lot of people, but I am not a tight end in the first round guy. There's never been value in that. You have to be a Brock Bowers generational talent to really see the ROI out of drafting a tight end that high.
There really isn't one this year.
TJ Hawkinson was probably the last like super high tight end draft, and like he's good and all, but like it's too common that you see a tight end in the second and third that are probably just right with them. So
and this is why I say Genty, right? Like if Genty isn't available, I don't see them going running back in the first. I only think they go running back in the first if Genty is there.
I think you're
if
right.
he's not,
I think he'll be gone.
I'm assuming it's wide receiver.
I think Genty might be like a top 10 pick. I foresee him to be shooting up the board. Unfortunately, I mean, how could his stock not be the highest in like forever? Like
I could see, and in the first round, I could see Dallas going after him.
Totally agree. Yep. They need.
Other than that, there are so many like.
Dallas going to be a free agent, so they're going to have no one on the roster for running back.
So other than Dallas, if you look at team needs, I don't think there's going to be any other team that's going to want to go running back in the first. Like it's either wide receiver, offensive lineman, or a quarterback.
Yeah, it'll depend. It'll depend a lot on our status going into the playoffs. If we're first round over, where that slots with, and I don't know.
I'm assuming we're picking 16, 17. And
probably.
That's my assumption.
Such a...
As much as I'd love to pick 32. It ain't happening.
Yeah. It's the land of, unknowns is that 15, 16 crap. I would rather pick in the bottom. I'd rather trade down and get an extra third or get an extra second or something. I hate
that's what I said this year, and then we got Bo Nix, so I didn't...
Yeah, all right.
Touche.
Michael Yo saying is go to the Jags and get wasted. Dude, that is the
everybody goes to the Jags and get wasted.
Yep, correct.
Jags, Carolina, Vegas, and Giants. Those are the ones you go to if you don't want to win anything.
Pretty much.
Ever.
If you just want to make money and hope you don't get hurt like for your whole life. Like, make sure you can walk after your career.
Yeah. And that's the thing that sucks is like and not to get completely off topic, but when you look at the Giants, right? Like the only thing holding that team back is the GM. And what do you do when it's the GM? That's the problem. Same thing with Cowboys. What's holding them back? Jerry Jones.
Yep. I mean, look at the Jets. That news just came out. We didn't trade Jerry Jeudy because of a fucking Madden rating. Like,
right? And now you've got Woody Johnson that's going to be an ambassador somewhere. That's going to be completely gone. So now who's running the team?
Unbelievable stuff, man.
And there's talk that like Rex Ryan wants to go back to the Jets. They'll do it. They're the Jets.
It's the age-old saying, just because you're rich doesn't mean you're smart. Tale as old as time.
Tepper, David Tepper.
Yeah,
idiot.
He's bad in Carolina, man. Super bad. Thank God we have the Walton Penner Group. Thank God we have a great ownership that just gets the heck out of the way. Here's all the money.
Like 1 week of their income pays like the entire team's salary.
Yep.
So jealous.
It's one of my favorite things to do is see all my Chief fan friends. And every time they go to Walmart, I say, thanks for the deposit to my team fund. Appreciate you.
Yeah. I see. And at one point I was looking over like what they make in like an hour and a minute. I don't remember what it was, but I know that I just looked up Patrick Mahomes with his contract. The dude makes like $9,000 an hour.
It's sickening, man.
It's like, come on.
No wonder Dylan Raiola wants to be him. I don't blame him.
Facts.
Other than his wife, I mean, she can kick rocks.
But... She can kick rocks. Same thing with Taylor Swift. She can kick rocks too.
Yeah, that's very true.
Damari Mathis, he can kick rocks.
Well.
All
right, folks. Before we get out of here, I do want to do the housekeeping right before we leave here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Obviously, we've got both sides of the fence here tonight. We've got the Orange and Blue Network representing, and then we got the MHRT Network over here representing. So please find our social medias in all forms out there on the World Wide Web. We absolutely appreciate your following because we are fan-led at the end of the day. We are fanalists. So your comments and your enthusiasm for what we do and the content we produce is invaluable. That's why we keep going. That's why we are up till almost midnight here on a Thursday night. It's a school night.
Right. And if you can't find either one of our channels, just any random channel, subscribe to it. That's fine. That'll work.
Why not?
Just hit like blah, blah, blah on the search bar and just follow.
Notifications on, please. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I did take that overlay of that W off the charger because I'm sick of looking at it. Mundungus, any final thoughts?
Please, God, let us win another game. Just one.
Yeah.
One. That's it.
Dude, I'm going to be real depressed if we drop the last 2 games, make the playoffs, and then don't win a playoff game. And we literally don't have another victory the whole rest of the year. That's worst case scenario.
No.
Brutal.
Jinx.
I'll knock on some wood here.
I'm calling you Mathis now. Jinx. Anytime he's out there, big play.
Pick 6 next game, Damari Mathis. Let's go. And on that note, I bid you adieu. Appreciate you being here, Mundungus, very much. And I hope you have a good holiday if I don't talk to you again.
You too.
All right. Take her easy, Broncos Country. The vibes will be immaculate eventually. And we'll see you then. Okay, bye.